Your Minnesota Vikings have finally kicked off the long-awaited general manager and head coaching interviews. Super excited about this. Last week, we went through our list of our top 5 candidates that we would like to see for this job. Obviously, we're just fans. Fans always want to see the exciting thing. It's not necessarily always going to go that way. And obviously, playoffs, it's a weird time. I mean, there might be some teams that aren't allowing their coaches to interview yet. Right. Some that are, I think the teams that were on bye could actually interview this last week, but they can't now. So that's why we had one interview, which we'll talk about in a bit here. And then obviously the teams that lost the playoffs, I believe, can start interviewing this week as well. Yeah. So it's an exciting time. We're ready to kind of see what happens with this team. Yeah, what are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I'm hoping that we get. I wonder if the same thing works for GMs. Like, I understand why a coach would need to do that, but I wonder if any potential GMs are able to interview before the playoffs are over for them. I'm not really sure, but I'm really hoping that we find a GM sooner than later.
Right.
It's just because we're so worried about the head coach thing. It's like we need to get that GM first, and I'm really waiting to figure that out. As far as head coaches, I would say right away is, I'm still digging our top 5 that we had. A lot of them looked really good in playoffs. And, we had, except, Moore ended up losing he ended up losing. So otherwise he had a lot of creative plays. What's his name for Buffalo? I always forget the ball. He looked really good. Bills win off. So
he gets the top defense too.
Yeah. And I would say Leftwich, Tom Brady and Tampa Bay still did really good. I would probably say if any of them, I would say maybe he would go down a notch, and I'd probably put the ball up there. But then Peterson, obviously, he doesn't have a team. And then Benamy it's still really good. And it started off really slow, but then they came back out and threw 6 touchdowns.
Right.
5 from Mahomes, 1 from Kelsey. But, yeah.
It's like I said, it's a very exciting time. So just we just want to give everybody a little general manager and head coaching interview update. Like I said, they have requested interviews for some, and they have actually interviewed some. And we're just going to take a quick little peek here at, sorry about that. There we go. I got it. At what we got going on. So let's start at the top. Of course, the most important thing, obviously, in all this is finding that general manager fit first. Mm-hmm. And also, one quick thing I've seen a lot of things on Twitter about people questioning why we're interviewing head coaches, why they think we're kind of wasting time with it without having a GM in place. There's nothing wrong with the ownership, because obviously the ownership needs to be a part of this as well. So there's nothing wrong with the owners getting a feeling for these coaches that potentially are going to be interviewed. Right. And also most of these coaches that are being interviewed, any GM candidate is going to want to interview these guys anyway. Mm-hmm. So nothing wrong with getting a little bit of a initial legwork in.
And I do want to mention too that these potential head coach candidates are interviewing with other teams. So if we really want a chance at talking to them, we have to do it now. Otherwise another team's going to scoop them up. So you kind of have no choice. But I think as far as their take on it, I just think we need to figure out this GM thing as soon as possible.
But also, having that initial interview with the head coach, maybe they're interested in the Vikings, and maybe they think, hey, they're interested in me. I'll wait it out till they find their GM, and maybe they're keeping their options open at that point. They know we're interested, so that could be part of it too. But anyway, let's run through the list here. So far, I think they started interviewing on Sunday afternoon. They started with Mossy Ossenfort, Tennessee Titans director of player personnel. Interesting tidbit. I learned he was back in the day. He was a quarterback at Minnesota Morris actually for college. So little Minnesota ties. So that's always a plus. Minnesota kid. Who knows? I don't know where he grew up, but Minnesota ties. So that's always nice to see.
Right.
Obviously, Tennessee Titans have put together really good football teams as of late. So I think he'd be a solid candidate. Obviously, being the first one interviewed. With the bye week thing, I'm not sure how that works. But if they want to talk to him first. Obviously, probably pretty high on their list. John Spytek, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Vice President of Player Personnel. Again, we've seen what Tampa Bay has put together. They even had a really talented team before Brady. Just quarterback was always iffy. 30 for 30. As they
30 for 30. Right. Yeah, so, I think he's one that I think a lot of us fans would like to have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really excited for him. Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, Cleveland Browns Vice President of Football Operations. again, Cleveland's put together a very talented football team. The quarterback situation's up in the air. That's the main problem. None of that's on him drafting wise, which is a point I want to bring up with this next candidate, Catherine Raish, Philadelphia Eagles VP of Football Operations. Obviously, as we've all seen, she is the highest ranking female front office executive person for in the NFL right now. I think actually might be in history. And then the first, she wouldn't, if she was hired, she wouldn't be the first female GM, but she is the first interviewed female GM candidate. So I know a lot of people are talking about, well, she passed up on JJ for Jalen Reagor. Not necessarily true. Who knows if that came down to being her decision or not, but
it's worth keeping an eye on, though.
Right. Yeah. Whatever.
That better be. That's got to be like their first question. It's like, so what did you think about the Reagor thing? Hopefully, she's like, I told him not to. If it was up to me and I ran that team, they'd have Justin Jefferson.
Hey, but no matter how anybody feels, if she's who they feel is the best candidate for the job, go ahead and do it. I'd be 100% down. I heard she's super smart, knows a lot about football. She worked her way through the CFL and the XFL to finally get into the NFL here. So obviously there's some talent there. She's smart. If she's going to do the job well, I'd be 100% down for it.
Yeah.
And then they have some interview requests out there. One of them happening, we're recording this today, which is Tuesday. One of them, Ryan Poles, the director of player personnel for the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, again, I mean, with all these people, you just look at their body of work, and the Kansas City Chiefs, the team has put together another solid football team. I feel like it's a broken record with that.
No way, Brown and Catherine both were on the JJ over Reagor side. One of them picked Reagor. We need to figure that out. That's why you have interviews.
Right, exactly. That's why they want to talk to him. It's like, so they probably don't even want him for the job. They just want to ask him so they could be like, oh, you are the person that didn't want to take JJ. Like, how'd that work out for you? But yeah, Brandon Brown, director of player personnel for the Eagles. Glenn Cook, Cleveland Browns, vice president of player personnel. And finally, kind of an intriguing name, just because anybody in the Patriots organization, you kind of give them a look because, I mean, obviously, Patriots been a dynasty for so long. Elliot Wolf of the Patriots is a player personnel consultant. Leave it up to the Patriots to have a interesting title in their organization. It seems like a very Patriots thing. I'll admit it. I'm sure Jamie will admit it too. We don't know a ton about GMs. I don't really know what any of these positions do, but it's just their names out there. And obviously they have, if they're being interviewed for general manager spots, they have a say in what goes on, and they obviously know football. They probably know more about football than any of us ever will. So
I would have to agree with you that the best way for someone like us to look at this is just by going to see what the team's like and what their drafts have been and their free agency has been, and to know that potential GM for us probably had a decent part in the development of those teams and the success of those teams.
Definitely. So let's move on to the exciting stuff, the ones that we know everybody's waiting for.
Yeah, we know a little bit more about head coaches.
So far, we've had one interview, as we talked about, Nathaniel Hackett of the team across the border, offensive coordinator. Now, I know a lot of people are asking, like, okay, it's kind of the same thing we talked about with Bieniemy. It's like Matt LaFleur calls the plays. They got Aaron Rodgers. What does he really do? It's like, well, I've heard a lot of different things, but I've heard more from. I heard a report that Aaron Rodgers said he was a good teacher and a good leader, which is always nice to hear, especially with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is kind of a smug asshole. But that's besides the point. But a lot of he has as the offense. I mean, he's in that position for a reason. Obviously, Matt LaFleur trusts him. He probably has a big part in game planning and making sure everybody knows what's going to go on a play-to-play basis. Managing Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. I mean, obviously, if he's there, Aaron Rodgers has to like him as well. And smug asshole again, he doesn't like a lot of people. So. When I read that at first, I was like, I just don't know. But the more I think about it, it's like, he obviously he has a big part of that offense, and that offense is always successful. So if that's the way they decide, I think it's probably just one of those where they wanted to get the interview done because, you got to do your due diligence on all of these guys. But I would say it's probably not likely if I had to think, but it's an interesting name to see out there.
Yeah. I still, I like our top 5, so I'm hoping we choose from that. Yeah. Speaking of one of the ones on our top 5 is Kellen Moore. And yeah, I liked his creativity in the last game. He had like plays where it I think I saw 2 of them where they had like laterals planned. And honestly, even though laterals are kind of a scary play, I think if you master the lateral somehow, like mid plays, I don't know if that's possible. No, I don't know if anyone's really tried it, but imagine if you did, you'd kind of create a whole new way of playing football.
Yeah.
So if
Well,
he
because
wants
I
to be
mean,
that guy and succeed at it,
had that one early on worked, was that Pollard that caught that one?
huge.
He'd have
Yeah.
been gone for a touchdown.
And there's one with Wilson too, back to, I think CD grabbed it from him a little, like earlier on. They crossed each other, threw it to him or whatever. And it's just stuff like, I just like that there's creativity there.
Right.
Our offense ran so bland, I felt like. So, and knowing that Kellen Moore is young, you kind of just think, he's ready to kind of like his future is looking into like doing something different than what the old school coaches did. So that's pretty interesting to me.
I mean, plus the team is in a way on offense is kind of set up the same. I mean, obviously Kirk isn't as dynamic as Dak from a movement standpoint, obviously. But they got the running back, they got the solid receiving core, they got a solid tight end. So in a lot of ways, offensively, it's the same. Maybe the good thing is, though, if Kirk does stay, he won't be able to run a quarterback draw with 14 seconds left and no timeouts.
Yeah, I know.
Kirk Cousins doesn't run those plays.
Exactly.
Don't know if that was his decision or not. If it was, I think we messaged each other after the lateral play. I'm like, okay, we see you. Point for Kellen Moore. If that was his decision to run that play at the end of the game,
that was not
take that point away. that was rough. It was a rough way to end that game.
Yeah, give that point away and give it to the ref.
Right, exactly. Moving down the list here.
I do want to mention one thing right away about this is, we've talked about it. We really want an offensive coordinator, and we're interviewing quite a bit of defensive coordinators. So honestly, I thought for sure we'd go offensive coordinator, but yeah, I think it's kind of up in the air as far as of what direction we're going to go, I think.
But also, like, as we talked about, you got to do your due diligence on everybody out there. Yeah. Next guy on the list, which, I mean, that just kind of brings up a good point here. Next guy on the list, Todd Bowles, Tampa Bay's defensive coordinator. Obviously, a lot of people look at him and say, no, but look what he did with the Jets. Come on. It's the freaking Jets. Nobody does anything good with the Jets. So if this were to happen, I mean, obviously it goes against everything. He's a little older. I think he's like 56, and he's a defensive coordinator. But again, if they interview him, they really like, because he's a true leader of men, obviously. I mean, he got, everybody, wherever he's been, there's been rave reviews. His defense in Tampa has been amazing. They had a little bit of a downward,
down spiral this year.
They're a little bit of downward spiral midway through the season, just like my sentences are. And, but they picked it up near the end. They played really well against Philadelphia. They got a lot of solid players on that defense. So he knows how to coach. I wouldn't be super upset if this happened. Again, we talked about it. Would like to see them go offensive, but I see why they're interviewing all these guys. Kevin O'Connell, Los Angeles Rams offensive coordinator. That offense is loaded with talent. You wonder if
sometimes they kind of don't do very well.
Right.
Though.
And you wonder if that's on him, or again, it's McVay's offense at the end of the day. Yeah. But I mean, obviously, if it's a guy that McVay hired to be on his staff, and especially in that offensive coordinator role, he sees something in him. So, I mean, you like to see, that offense is always explosive for the most part. You wonder if their struggles have been due to, typical Matthew Stafford play or what have you, but wouldn't be super upset to see that. This next one, which I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. I mean, because obviously after the Super Bowl loss, that's just kind of how it goes. It's a real kick in the nuts. And a lot of times as we saw, those big losses, as Vikings fans saw in championship games or whatever, and you lose, it really does kind of take all the steam, all the wind out of your sails. And Dan Quinn, I don't know. I think he's a good leader. I think his defenses are always solid. What are your thoughts on Dan Quinn? When I saw this, I was kind of intrigued by it, but also
I would say I kind of feel the same. I mean, he did pretty solid with the Falcons. Yeah, when he was their head coach, I thought. I mean, he went. Yeah, is that what you were talking about with the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, when he brought them to the Super Bowl, and they've honestly ever since he's been gone, their defense has been absolutely terrible.
Right.
So I think he does hold. I think. I wouldn't be too sad. I really don't want a defensive coordinator for a head coach, but compared to a lot of these other defensive coordinators, he stands out.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll talk about him soon, but on this list, the one that stands out to me the most is DeMeco Ryans, probably. Yeah. But so I wouldn't be too upset. I think he's good.
Yeah,
he's proven that, and I think he's been proven to be a solid head coach. And But
and it's just, those big losses a lot of times, like I said.
I don't think he's the next great head coach. And it'd be kind of nice if we scooped up the next Belichick,
Right. I mean, I think he'd be a good stabilizing force for a team that really needs leadership.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, who knows? If that's a decision they decide, if that's the way they decide to go, I'd be fine with it. But something tells me that that's just an interview, just to do it. You never know.
Yeah.
Jonathan Gannon, Philadelphia's defensive coordinator. Yeah, after that game on Saturday, I don't know if he's or Sunday. That was Sunday. Yeah, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be in the running anymore. I mean, just do your due diligence on him, do the interview, but. I don't know. But as you talk about DeMeco Ryans, that one's really exciting. Obviously that defense has always been a very solid defense, especially I know last year they struggled a bit, but they lost a lot of pieces to injury. So I'd be cool with that. I think that'd be a good hire. And then Raheem Morris, he had a chance with Tampa back in the day. And I think I heard he self-admitted he probably wasn't quite ready for the job yet at that point. But obviously that Rams defense has been solid. He's got a lot of talent to coach, and obviously the Vikings defense, as of right now, has a ton of talent on it as well. But yeah, as you said, so I mean, with that one, I'd be cool with it. I think people respect him, and obviously, like I said, his defenses are good. But again, I'd like to. There are a lot of defensive names on this list, which does kind of worry me. I wonder why. Again, maybe some people just aren't letting their coaches interview yet. I don't really know, but I'm sure this isn't the finalized list. I'm sure there'll be more to come within the coming days here.
Yeah, for sure. There has to be. I mean, you're leaving out a lot of really good offensive coordinators out there. There's only one on this list of our top 5. So
yeah,
I'm hoping to see more. I think that it could be, that the Bills, the Chiefs, Tampa Bay, those guys are still rolling in the playoffs, and maybe they're not taking any interviews. I don't know if I've heard about any team setting up interviews with those guys yet. I'm not sure, but so maybe we're just waiting on them. I don't know. I think we can take our time a little bit. I think it'd be good to just go through that. That's why I think it is smart to start right now and kind of go through it. And then once we get a GM, kind of take that step up and be a little bit more serious. But
I mean, especially since you're looking, I mean, obviously the culture starts with the ownership. So they want to, I think they want to have a little, I mean, who knows, maybe when the GM comes in, like, okay, we talked to all these people. We don't know how you feel, but we don't really feel like they fit the Minnesota Vikings culture we're trying to build. So it could be an ownership thing. Like, we just want to get to know these guys before somebody else comes in. We can kind of share our opinions on them from a.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the thing that Thielen said too, that the leadership is going to them and talking to like the leaders of the players and trying to get their opinion and stuff like that. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
And hopefully they get a GM that kind of rolls that same way.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I think that's cool. And maybe hopefully that'd be cool if they're in on some of these interview processes or something.
And I honestly, that's why I think the Wilfs are the best owners in Minnesota sports. So, all right. Well, with that being said, there you have it. That is our list.
Whoa. What about Alex Rodriguez, man?
Yeah.
Hey, Rod.
Just wait.
He married J-Lo, bro.
Just wait. Once the team starts winning and they move him to Seattle, you're not going to feel that good about him anymore. So
that better not happen.
With that being said, there you have it. That is the Minnesota Vikings list of general managers and head coaches interviewed / requested for interview. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What you think of a lot of these guys. Let us know if you agree with us, if you want offensive or defensive coordinator to be our head coach. Let us know what you think of the GM candidates. Like the video if you enjoyed it. And most importantly, subscribe for the videos on down the road. We're going to coming up later on this week, we are going to start a little bit of a player review from this last season. We're going to go through a few of the big names and position by position, and we'll see kind of what we'll see our thoughts on how the players have been. So like I said, most importantly, subscribe. We'll see you guys later.
SKOL Vikes.